But let's just continue. So we were talking about that third mood. My friend is funny. Q happened. Can we tell whether P or whether she's smart or not? And again, we would say invalid. She could be both. She could just be funny. So we can't tell P or not P. And so our final mood is the fourth mood. So again, our original major premise is my friend is either P or Q. And this time we said my friend is not funny. So can you tell me if you can come to a valid conclusion about whether she's smart or not? Since we know all my friends are either smart or funny, if she's not funny, then yes, we can say validly that she is smart. So not P means, or not Q means, yes, she is P. So I just kind of, like I did before, we're going to look at our 4 different moods, and we're going to see which ones are valid or not. So let me just make this a little bigger. So here we go. Either P or Q. Mood 1 is that P happened. So tell me, therefore, here we are. Therefore, can you tell me whether, if she's smart, can you tell me whether she's funny or not? No, we can't. So mood 1, we would say invalid. You can't tell just by the fact that she's P whether or not she's Q or not. Mood 2 is she's funny. Can you tell whether she's smart? No. Mood 3, my friend is not funny. In that one, you can get a valid conclusion. If she's not funny, then she must be smart. And mood 4 is she's not smart. Therefore, since we know all my friends have to be either smart or funny, if she's not smart, we know that she has to be funny. So the 2 valid ones for this type of syllogism are mood 3 and 4. When you say that she's not one, you know that they have to be the other. Same thing with the kids with the vegetables. If they don't eat their peas, then they have to eat their carrots. But if they ate their peas, you can't tell whether or not they also ate carrots or not. So that's kind of the way you can remember the valid 2 moods. I'll just circle them. These are the 2 that are valid. So it's only when we say they're not one that we know that it has to be valid, that you conclude that they are the other. If they're not P, therefore Q. And if they're not Q, therefore P. So those are the 2 valid conclusions you can come up with from there. Okay. Sorry about my low-tech, high-tech thing. Okay. So that we kind of covered my basic lecture on disjunctive syllogisms. And I'm just going to show you too, like if we go into the logic games, now the logic carnival, like how you're going to set that up. So let me just move myself off a little bit. So here, I continue in the notes on the haiku page. Basically, some people are going to have, when they set up their carnival game, they're going to be doing one of these disjunctives. So I just gave you an example. So here's one example of a way you could do your carnival game. So here's my syllogism for my carnival game could be everyone wins my game by either P or Q, either knocking over the bottle or tossing a ring over the bottle. So basically, we're going to have 4 different moods, and they're all going to show ways that you win the game. Okay, so these 4 possible minor premises. Now, in this example, we assume everyone will win the game. So if you don't win one way, it means you had to win the other way. So your 4 moods would be P happens, P does not happen, Q happens, or Q does not happen. And you have to figure out if, by that minor premise, whether you can come to a valid conclusion or not, okay? So it's kind of like the example of the smart and funny. So P happens, that means you did knock over the bottle. Can you tell me for sure whether you tossed a ring over there or not? And that one we would say, no, it's invalid. You can't tell. You could have done both, or you could have just done P. Number 2 said P did not happen. You did not knock over the bottle. So if you won the game, it means you must have Q, toss the ring over the bottle. So this one, to win the game, then Q would be the valid answer, that you know that you had to have done Q. So number 3, Q happens, you toss the ring over the bottle. And again, we're assuming everybody won. So if it happens that you toss the ring over the bottle, can we tell whether you knocked it over or not? No, so that one would be invalid. And number 4, Q did not happen. You did not toss the ring over the bottle. But because we said everybody won, it means that P happened, that you did knock over the bottle. So that's how we do this game. You might set up your game a different way. You might set up your game to say either you knock over the bottle and win a prize, or you lose. So that's a different way, and that would work different way. And I just want to come down to this point right here. No, many students have their disjunctives to be exclusive, meaning P and Q are opposites. Either you do something and win, or you do not do that thing and not win. Q is really just the same as not P. So like Q was, I knocked over the bottle and I won, and then P would be I didn't knock over the bottle, I didn't win. So in this case, we call those exclusive. If one didn't happen, the other did happen. And because of that, it makes all 4 moods valid. So it's basically saying if P happening means Q did not happen, and because the not happening ones are valid. So if you decide to set up your game like that, just make sure you think it all the way through. And then when I ask you which ones are valid, you might have a different answer than the 2 valid and 2 invalid. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Carnival sheet that you're supposed to print out right now, and I'm just going to help you figure out how to fill this all out. So again, we originally wanted to do our Carnival games as a class and have a carnival, but because of the stay home junction, we are going to be you're going to make a carnival game for your family to play instead. So you have the break to do it, and sometime during the break, you're going to have to create your game and play it with your family over the break. So I've assigned you each based on your last name, whether you're going to do a conditional if-then statement. So if your last name starts with A through M, so it'd be Aaron's and Alice's and Kuzno's, anybody through M is going to be doing a conditional if-then statement. So you need to set up your game. Like, here's an example. If the ball you throw hits the target, then I will fall into the pudding pool. Okay? And then you need to go through and define all 4 possible moods for your syllogism. So the conditional statement, the if-then, is your major premise. So your 4 possible moods are your 4 possible minor premises. So example, we start with the same major premise. Your first mood would be if P, then Q. So the first one would be P. P happened. You threw the ball and it hit the target. Could we come to a valid conclusion about whether Q happened or not? So basically you would say, if the ball you throw hits the target, then yes, Q means Q would happen. I would fall into the pudding pool. That's a valid conclusion. Okay, how about this one? You did not fall into the pudding pool. So Q did not happen. And you would have to go back and say, can we tell whether the ball I threw hit the target? Since I didn't fall in, it means it's valid that we know that it didn't hit the target. And then the other one is, so we did P happened, Q did not happen. What about P not happening? You threw the ball and it did not hit the target. Can you tell whether you fell into the pudding pool or not? You could have fallen because you slipped or something else. Here I said, for number 3, the counterexample, because you could have fell into the pudding pool because of high winds, or maybe your brother pushed you. But you can't tell just by the fact that you didn't hit the target whether or not you fell into the pudding pool. You could have not fallen in. And then what would the 4th mood be? So we've done P and not P. We've done not Q. So the last one would be Q. Q happened. You fell into the pudding pool. And again, do we know for sure whether your ball hit the target? We can't tell. You could have fallen into the pudding pool because you slipped, or because you just wanted to jump in because you made all that pudding and you thought it would be fun. So you can't really tell whether the ball you threw hit it or not. So again, you have to go through and look at all 4 possible moods and write in which ones would be valid or not. So again, print up the sheet from the website, from the haiku page. The one I emailed out to your parent, I forgot to update for all the things that you're going to be doing at home instead of in class. So this one that I'm showing you right now is the actual. So your homework is to fill out this logic sheet. So my logic carnival game, and then you can just type it in. So your carnival game might be called pudding pool. Okay. Your hypothetical syllogism, this would just be where you would fill in your if-then statement. So if you hit the target, I fall into the pudding pool. Okay, so this is basically your major premise, is what your hypothetical syllogism is your major premise. So the first one, so this is it's your if P, then Q statement. So your first minor premise would be P happened, which means in this case, this is P, so it would be I fall into the pudding pool. I'm sorry, I hit the target. P happens if you hit the target. So I hit target. So next you have to say, can you come to a valid conclusion? So what would your answer be? If you hit the target, do we all agree that there's something valid that happens? Yes, Q happens. Q happens. Which would be you fall into. We'll just erase these. Okay, and then valid or not. We said if P then Q is a valid one, so we just say valid. Okay, so then mood 2. So we did P happen, mood 2 would be not P, and you would write that out in words. What that means is that you did not hit the target. Mood 3 would be Q happened, and mood 4 would be Q, or not Q, you could call it. But I want you to write it out in words. That would mean not Q means you did not fall in pudding. Okay, so I'm just kind of giving you an example of how to fill this out. And I would, like I said, I want you to write out the words. Like I hit the target, I fall into the pudding pool. But these are your 4 moods, okay? So this is an example of what you would do for if you had the if-then statement. So let's say you had an either-or statement. So let's say your game was either you knock down the target or you lose the game. Or, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. Or we all laugh at you. Either knock down the target or we all laugh at you. Okay, so first of all, you have to decide, is this exclusive? Exclusive means if one happens, the other has to not happen. Or if one, in this case, what do you guys think? Are these exclusive or not? Can you knock down the target and we all laugh at you? So in this case, I would say no, not exclusive. What if we did this one? Either you knock down the target and win a prize, or you lose. Do you think those are exclusive? So either you win or you lose. So we call that win or not win. So basically, because everybody has to fall into one or the other, we would say that these are exclusive. And so these you'll deal a little bit differently with. Okay, so again, our major premises are the same. P happened. I knocked on target. Try and use your exact words of what you used for your syllogism. So can we tell whether if you knock down the target for the top one, can you tell whether we all laugh at you? No, when P happens, if they're not exclusive, it means Q could also happen. And so we would say in this case, this would be invalid for A if they're not exclusive. If we're using an exclusive one, where if one happens, the other doesn't. So we knock down the target. For this case, if we're looking at B, knock down target and 1, then we would say, so for A, we would say it's invalid. You can't tell. But for B, if we use example B, if you set up your game like B, then we would say it would be valid. If you knock down the target in 1, then you would know that you did not lose. So your valid conclusion would be not Q. Okay. How about this one? Not P. So either P or Q. So you did not knock down the target. Our conclusion, it would be, if P didn't happen, then yes, Q had to happen. Oops. I have to free up my storage space.